Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
I'm Frankenbotch.
And I am the Disco Inferno.
Welcome to episode 279, Halloween Havoc, 1997.
Snap into the madness.
Wasn't sure how fast he was going to say it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if he was going to go fast or slow. I was like, well, I'll just get this. I'll do the snap with you.
I was trying to go with you.
Okay. Oh, you were doing the same thing I was?
Yep.
Yeah. I was like, well, how would Randy do it? Like, well, he'd probably do snap, comma, right?
Yeah, he would do snap into the madness. You gotta get
There it is.
Have you guys ever heard Dan Soder's Macho Man impersonation?
Probably have.
Probably, but
He's just a stand-up comedian that loves wrestling.
Gosh.
But he does a great one. Probably the best that I'm aware of.
I want to say I have seen some little clip of him on Facebook or something like that. I think.
Very funny guy. Good comedian. He does some fun voices.
So this is the 9th annual Halloween Havoc produced by WCW. It took place on October 26th, 1997, from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, with an attendance of 12,457 people.
Who's the gambler? Bischoff, Hogan?
Yes. Flair.
Flair. But he doesn't have much pull these days, I don't think.
That's why he's gambling. Mm-hmm. He's got none but time.
But we are in Las Vegas.
Yeah, we are.
So Shane, did you do what you do?
Well, here we are once again on our little culinary journey around the world. We're episode 279 now. That's crazy. I've done, I believe, 200 of these. 200 plus?
200 plus.
Yeah. It's fucking insane because it started with a damn sandwich. And I thought, this will be easy. And then along came Philly and it got tricky. But yes, here we are in Vegas for Halloween Havoc. In the history of the Havocs, they haven't always been one of the most fun to look forward to, fun to watch. You've got your occasional greatness spots on them, just, not necessarily greatness, but more, it hurts so good.
Iconic.
And then you get a triple Tower of Doom.
Yeah, it's an iconic, pay-per-view in everybody's mind or whatever, but, there's not a whole lot of great ones. There's some memorable ones.
Halloween was always one of the coolest holidays anyways. Halloween Havoc should have been just a kick-ass show every year. There's so much shit that they could do. Costumes, stories.
Is the first Halloween Havoc the one where they electrocute Abdullah?
If it's not the first one, it's one of the
second one.
It's
one of the first.
It's one of the first ones, yeah.
Yes.
The one where Ole lifts the cage. Is that one of them?
Maybe I think so.
I think that might be the first.
Yeah.
I can't remember now.
Let's spin the wheel, guys.
Yes, spin the wheel, make the deal.
We got a lot of
coal
mileage
miners
out of that.
love match.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like Castle of Fear? Or something like that? No. Some, like I said, memorable, but not always the best shows.
No. But yeah, I did what I do in the sense of what the hell what do you eat in Vegas? And there are so many things that you can eat in Vegas, but there's only so many things that you can recreate in Oklahoma, especially getting off of work and having to, run around and grab all the stuff. I looked around and found, your typical variety of, steaks and burgers and tacos and all this other stuff there. But the one thing that kept popping up as one of the most ordered appetizers in Vegas is a shrimp cocktail.
Yeah.
The shrimp cocktail that they have in Vegas is more of your traditional shrimp cocktail with your shrimp around, the edge of a martini glass with a little cocktail sauce in there, maybe a little bit of horseradish, some lemon, zest or something like that in there just to fancify it up a little bit. A little shrimp fork, some little crackers off to the side. In Oklahoma, we can get those. Specifically, Oklahoma City, we're kind of
we're landlocked.
We're landlocked, but we're also kind of a fancy foodie city, so we have to zhuzh it up just a little bit more than you get at the Vegas Strip. Not that they do it wrong at the Vegas Strip. We just we have to okie it up a little bit. Typically, when you go around and you order a shrimp cocktail from places, you usually end up at a Mexican restaurant. And if it is an authentic Mexican restaurant, then you just have this big, tall, ice-cold glass full of awesomeness with big fat shrimp and avocado and chunks of lime and cilantro and onion and tomato with a little bit of a V8 type of juice. There we go. I almost said jus.
Juice.
Like a V8 juice poured in on top of it, and it all just kind of marinates together. You get a little bit of the spice, a little bit of the tomato, a little bit of the sweetness, a little bit of the fattiness, a little bit of the just deliciousness.
It's like a ceviche, almost.
It's like I love me some ceviche too.
Ceviche
Glad you put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we have our steakhouses you can go to where you can get the traditional shrimp cocktail, but typically if you're going to get it, you're going to want to go to one of the Mexican restaurants and get it done up right.
Yeah.
Okie style. But yeah, this one here came from a newer restaurant in town called La Herradura. I'll have to get you the accurate spelling of it, but it's over off of 122nd and Rockwell. It's been open now just for about a year. Authentic Mexican place. A wide variety of
strip mall?
Everything. It's in a strip mall, but there's not much in the strip mall. It's at the elbow of the strip mall, though. You got like a Pizza Hut on one far end of it. You got a child care center on the other far end of it, and then you've got La Herradura just.
Is it a little bit
right there in the center?
Nicer than like a taqueria? Or is it?
I've honestly.
Is it a bit grimy?
I mean, it's just your standard.
It's nicer than a typical taqueria, I think.
Yeah.
I can tell just by the sign.
Yeah, I mean, inside it's your, there's no fancy decorations or anything. It's just your basic plain tables and whatnot. But I mean, it's because the focus is on the food.
Yeah.
I found this one specifically not only because it's across the street from work, but I jumped on Yelp just to find out where the best shrimp cocktail in town was, and that was at the top of the list. So even better. But yeah, if you're ever in Oklahoma City, give La Herradura a try. I know they've got some other. I don't know if they're the same concept, but I've seen some La Herraduras around town, farther edges of town. I'm going to do what I do, where I just take a bite on air. It's not going to make a whole lot of noise with the cocktail itself, but they gave us these nice little chips. So I'm just going to make me this big, fat, avocado-y, shrimpy, saucy bite. It's a saucy bitch.
I mean, with it being like 100 and whatever degrees outside.
Wherever you're listening to from, please let us know what's the temperature there. Because right now in Oklahoma City, it's like 104, but it feels like 112.
Yeah, it's Oklahoma summers are.
You get that nice run of sweat going down your back, and then this hot breeze comes along and just instantly makes it go away. Doesn't even give you a cool effect.
Chase the sweat with sweat.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna take my bite here. Fully loaded chip, shrimp, all this goodness. 1, 2, 3. Here we go.
It's the family that owns this restaurant's from
Honduras,
Calvillo, Mexico, which is where Agua Caliente's food is from. That's where the a region of Mexican food is.
Okay.
Hot fire food, or I mean hot water food.
Yeah, I get
Caliente, and then
hot water, baby.
Yeah. Who knows?
Sounds cool. That's what that word means, right?
Aguas calientes. I mean, looks like it. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I'm pretty sure
Yeah. I think you're right. I'll have to do some further research off pod.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go and try some more stuff from over there.
I mean, yeah, that was great.
I always give a new restaurant, a month or 6 weeks or so to knock off the newness, get into their groove and all that, and I've kind of let this one go a little further.
Well, I'm not a big shrimp cocktail guy, but This was very, very good.
You finished it first.
I did finish it first.
Now you got to do the bit where every time you talk on the show, like Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11, you're eating something.
I mean, I kind of do. It's my bit.
So something that would happen right around the same time as this show. I Know What You Did Last Summer would hit theaters the weekend before.
One I've seen only on cable in parts because, this was like the post-Scream boom of like mediocre
it's written by the same guy.
Oh,
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's
not Wes Craven though.
No, it's Wes.
Something.
Kevin Williamson.
Kevin Williamson.
Okay, yeah. Is this one good?
Yeah. I mean,
I just remember the hook hand.
Oh yeah.
And isn't Gabrielle Union in
it? Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar,
Ryan Phillippe,
Freddie Prinze
Jr.,
Anne Heche, Bridget Wilson.
Maybe it's the second one that has a hot black chick.
Brandy. She's in part 2.
There we go.
And I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Which is one of the greatest titles ever for another movie. Like, I got the movies mixed up. I've probably only seen parts of both of them on TV. But
it's one of those that they just kept going.
But, I guess there's a reason that the Scream movies have continued to go on and still have this giant cultural, like, horror movies where I Know What You Did Last Summer is kind of... Nobody ever talks about it, really. But they were... It was... I imagine it was a
like,
big,
literally, those horror films, like, you talk Scream. It's the best one.
Yeah.
And then this one's kind of the, like... Okay, yeah, like, I've watched it. It was good.
Like, I'm not
opposed to sitting down and
huge Sarah
watching
Michelle Gellar fan, but I do like her in this one. I never got into Buffy. I'm sure one day I'll watch it and I'll enjoy it. But
same. I'm just been holding off because I'm like, if I get into this and I like it, it's gonna take up too much of my life.
I was the gay kid growing up, and Sarah Michelle Gellar was on.
Join our Patreon for our Buffy the Vampire Slayer Buffy Watch.
Yeah, but with the 112th podcast that covers Buffy the Vampire.
Sarah Michelle Gellar was Erica Kane's daughter on All My Children, and that's what I knew her as to start off with. And she was just like the perfect bitch on TV. Really? So I didn't want to watch Buffy because screw you, bitch. I love the Buffy movie from the 90s with Christy Swanson and Luke Perry and Paul Rubens and
yeah. Do you still currently watch any soap operas?
Yeah, I still watch General Hospital.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
It's one of those things. It's like wrestling in a way. It ties me to my youth because growing up, I watched the CBS shows with my mom when I was younger, and then after she passed away. Well, she passed away before she got into taping them and stuff, but I continued watching them until those ones ended, and then I followed a lot of the actresses that were on As the World Turns and Guiding Light to General Hospital.
Yeah, I know my mom started watching one. I think she always has off and on, and I found out my aunt has been watching one of them for so long that back in like the 80s, she had like an office job or whatever, and when it came on, she would call her house or somebody's house where there was somebody there, and they would pick up the phone and put it next to the TVs. Listen to it. I was like, that's crazy, Aunt Nancy. I can't believe.
Well, that's the thing, though.
Yeah. You don't really see it.
They started out as radio programs.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, back to Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yeah, I really liked her in this one. She should have been. I'm sorry to spoil it for you. 30, however many years, 27 years later. But yeah, she should have been the final girl.
Oh yeah. I just remember the hook hand and people freaking out. I know they hit a guy.
The only reason Jennifer Love Hewitt got to be the final girl is because she was also on Party of Five with Neve Campbell. So they had to give her own little.
And she also has huge tits.
Yeah, well, yeah, Jennifer Love huge tits. That's kind of what her name became.
So it's like, okay, well, if she's gonna be running around at the end with ripped clothes, they're probably going to pick
What are you waiting for?
The chesty one.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, her run is basically from this to, for like a couple of years, and that's it. Can't Hardly Wait. Incredible.
Oh, yeah. Can't Hardly Wait was phenomenal.
Yeah. But, outside of that. Heartbreakers?
I guess they're...
I'm making a A new
There's
one?
supposed to be a new one coming out next year with
course.
Freddie Prinze and Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Give us that title.
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, but it's going to be their kids now. They're going to be the parents.
That stinks.
Oh, because that's what they do with all these movies now.
Well, we can tie it back to wrestling.
Because
Freddie Prinze
it's a
Jr.
legacy sequel. It's a...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if it's going to be written by like the
It's not.
Halloween guys.
Twisters.
No, it's written by two women
Oh.
that I didn't recognize their name from anything.
As long as, I mean, it'll make money or it won't. Horror movies typically do, but yeah, those last Halloween movies were booty. So
Yes.
hopefully it's not Gordon Green or whatever.
No, not David Gordon Green.
Yeah.
Stay away from his horror movies for a while.
I still need to watch the Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Okay, whatever.
Everybody keeps telling me I don't need to watch it. It's
Whatever
like,
you
yeah,
want.
I have to.
Whatever
I want to.
Yeah. I want that for you if that's what you want.
Mhm.
But Freddie Prinze Jr., from what I understand, he's been trying to put together a wrestling promotion for a while now.
Yep.
One day we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he worked for WWE there for a while as a writer.
I guess a lot of people worked as writers for WWE for a while. And like, you never find out the information that I want to about the people that wrote for it. Because I think Bob Mould, who's like a musician, Husker Du, and then solo career. Sugar is like 90s rock band, but he wrote for WWE for a small amount of time. And I'm like, I want to know all the stories. Same with like Patrice O'Neal, I think wrote for WWE for a little while too. And it's like, he must have been the guy that came up with Katie Vick. If you've ever heard his stand-up. And I love Patrice O'Neal, but I don't agree with 99% of the things he says. But yeah, just it's so many. Yeah, one day we'll have to do a writer spotlight because it'll get crazy at one point.
Well, let's see if Halloween Havoc can get a little crazy. We get a black and white video with narration. The world of wrestling will change forever, while clips of Hogan and Piper taunting each other are shown, as Hollywood promises to put Roddy out to pasture, while Piper says Hogan is cornered and he'll chew him up from head to toe, followed by Hollywood claiming to be the god of professional wrestling.
Double boo.
Tony Schiavone welcomes us to the show, joined by Dusty Rhodes and Bobby the Brain Heenan. And Tony talks about how Roddy had made his debut 1 year ago at this event. And now tonight, he'll try to end this feud once and for all, with the Brain hoping he hasn't bitten off more than he can chew, while Dusty thinks if Hogan wins, the NWO party may never end.
It was forced to do at one point. A day in 2001.
And then it didn't end then either.
No. It's kind of still
Still,
going
yeah,
today.
it still hasn't ended. You
Yeah.
still got Too Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It just has a new name now.
Yeah.
But we go to our first match. Yuji Nagata with Sonny Onoo versus Ultimo Dragon. And the story behind this match was that Sonny had found him a new client to help him in his quest to defeat Ultimo.
Anybody Sonny Onoo wants to bring to have a match with Ultimo Dragon, I'm here for it. I assume
Disco Inferno.
I mean, somebody that Sonny Onoo would probably,
okay.
you know, his choice.
Gotcha.
Not just anybody, but he's typically picks interesting, fun, or formidable opponents.
So the last time we saw Nagata was at Wrestling World 1997, episode 235. Also, I don't know if anyone noticed who the referee was.
I did, but I didn't realize this was our first spotting.
First spotting of Charles Robinson as the referee.
Lil Nate.
He had just gotten hired to the company, so.
I saw him in the ring, and I even had that, have we seen him yet? But I just kept staring at him like he just has this extreme baby face, because I forgot how young he was back then. I mean, dude's been around now for like
27 years.
7 years, yeah.
So Mike Tenay also joins the booth for this match.
Of course he does. We have 2 foreign wrestlers in the ring.
Telling us about how Dragon has some bone chips in his elbow.
Uh-oh.
Let's see if that plays into this
This
match.
could be used as weapons.
They trade kicks and suplexes when Yuji would go to a chinlock, trying to rip the mask off of Ultimo, only to be countered into a back suplex. Nagata responds with stiff kicks and goes to a camel clutch, before letting it go to taunt the crowd, but he returns to the attack with a pile driver for a 2 count. And Yuji tries for a vertical suplex, only for Dragon to block momentarily, but Nagata finally gets him over for a near fall.
That was a perfect pile driver. Looked too good to just be a 2 count.
Yuji with more stiff kicks as Ultimo just begs him for more, when Dragon catches one to counter it into a Dragon Screw leg whip.
Yeah, you know I love it.
Nagata rolls out, so Ultimo looks to fly out with the Pescado, only for Yuji to catch him with a kick to the sternum on his way down.
Should have hit the elbow. Send those bone chips up his arm into his brain.
We then see Raven, Saturn, Billy Kidman, and Sick Boy make their way through the crowd to their ringside seats, while Dragon has recovered to toss Nagata into a guardrail, followed by an Asai moonsault.
You know, a move that he created.
Back in the ring, Ultimo goes for a handspring back elbow, but Yuji stops that with a knee to the back before setting Dragon on a turnbuckle for a superplex, only for Ultimo to reverse into a sunset flip powerbomb for a 2 count. And Dragon heads up top for a moonsault that gets a near fall, followed by placing Nagata on a turnbuckle for a hurricanrana, but Yuji slams the arm of Ultimo across the turnbuckle to change the momentum. And Nagata continues with more stiff kicks, working the arm and shoulder before delivering a belly-to-belly suplex for a 2 count, and applying a Nagata lock, which is a modified figure 4, only for Dragon to reach the ropes. Yuji then tries for a powerbomb, which Ultimo flips over and counters into a Dragon sleeper, but he's using his injured arm, so he's unable to lock it in very well, allowing Nagata to slip out. Ultimo hits an enziguri, leaving both men down, so they start to chop each other on their knees until Dragon makes it to his feet to kick away. And Ultimo sets Yuji on a turnbuckle again, nailing the hurricanrana, but the arm hurts too much, so he doesn't make a cover. But he then goes to the sleeper, only for Nagata to reverse it into a Fujiwara armbar for the submission and the win.
Woo! My God. This was good stuff. They had great chemistry, and Nagata was so comfortable and looked great. Probably had a little bit of confidence because he knew he was going over, but I didn't, so it was pretty exciting. I assumed Ultimo would win.
I did too.
And yeah, it's the kind of stuff that I like to see.
And I got nervous there when they went to the old Ravens.
I know.
Flock or brood or whatever the hell they're calling
They were
them.
just going to start talking about that or showing them instead of 2 wrestlers that are wonderful, incredible. You know, Ultimo Dragon obviously will have sung the praises, but Yuji Nagata doesn't get the praises here in the U.S. As he does in Japan, but this was a wonderful showing by the young man.
Post-match, Yuji and Onoo break the arm of Ultimo by continuing to attack it, followed by Nagata being handed the payoff from Sonny.
Broke it.
Tony then sends us to the back, where Disco Inferno is being interviewed by WCWWrestling.com.
Oh, wow, that'll get people to load up the 56K internet.
And it's not even our lovable intern doing the Q&A. It's Mark Madden and Jeff Katz. And we haven't seen Katz since NWO Sold Out 97, episode 238.
Thank God. Because my gosh, did that stink.
Yeah, judging the old Miss NWO pageant.
Yeah, he stunk. I don't think he was as bad as the shock jock from those early Raws, though.
No.
That guy was the worst.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Rob
Bartlett.
Thank you.
There you go.
Madden says Disco will make history tonight when he faces a woman, followed by Inferno saying he can't hit her, but he's the best wrestler on TV today.
Sure he is.
So he'll find a way to win.
There was 2 wrestlers that just had a match that wouldn't even agree to a match with you, Disco Inferno.
No.
So,
that's why you're fighting Jacquelyn. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No. But you're just kind of a comedy act that isn't even that funny.
Yes.
Or maybe there's another reason, which we'll talk about later. Disco continues that cheerleaders shouldn't be on the field, when Jacquelyn would enter the room, asking Mark why he didn't interview her, with Madden saying he wanted to, but Inferno wouldn't let him. Jackie then jumps over the table, chasing Disco away, before knocking Mark over, which has Dusty laughing about how Madden's big old butt went flying.
Jacquelyn's got great screen presence.
She has great screen presence, but she struggles to talk.
Yeah.
She's like she would be great with I don't want to say Sonny Onoo, but Jimmy Hart, somebody doing the talking for her.
Yeah.
She stumbles over her words too much.
Yeah, but she just has she's full of life, and her face is always believable in the situation.
Like she could have that China gimmick where she doesn't say anything. She can just stand there, look intimidating, make expressions, and
or she could. I mean, she obviously isn't as good of a talker, but like she could do the Sonny on the floor, probably.
Yeah,
close to as well, and then obviously get more physical.
We go to our second match: Gedo versus Chris Jericho.
You know, I popped for this. Last thing I expected, and they tell us it's an unadvertised bonus match.
That's right.
Sure. Okay. Is
We
there more on that later?
We were supposed to get Goldberg versus Ming, but they decided it might not be wise for Bill's third match to be on pay-per-view.
Yeah, and it would be short, and if, Ming felt disrespected, he might take it into his own hands. And that's the last guy you want. It's probably the only guy on the roster that could actually beat up Goldberg.
So last time we saw Gedo was at Super J Cup second stage, episode 175.
Where he won it all.
He lost in the finals.
Oh, he did lose. He went too far. We all agreed on that.
Yes. And while he's walking out, we see Stevie Richards has joined Raven's crew with a sign that says, "Ooh, that's scary." So our two competitors exchange slaps and arm locks before Jericho with a back kick sends Gedo out to the floor to regroup. And Chris meets him making his way back in with right hands, a back elbow, and a stalling vertical suplex for a 2 count. Gedo reverses a whip, tossing Jericho over the ropes, only for Chris to skin the cat back in. But Gedo is right there to clothesline him back out to the floor.
Yeah. You know what? Stevie Richards and Jacquelyn would probably be a fun combo.
Yeah.
But Stevie Richards can do kind of anything.
Actually, isn't she in Right to Censor at one point?
I'm trying to remember if she...
Or no, that was
Ivory.
It was Ivory that was with them.
Yeah.
Now back in the ring, Gedo nails a power slam for a near fall, but he then charges into a boot in a corner, only for Jericho to charge into a snap power slam for a 2 count. Gedo goes to a sleeper, but Chris escapes and delivers a clothesline and a double power bomb for a near fall.
He's holding on.
Jericho then places Gedo on a turnbuckle for a Frankensteiner that sees Chris land right on his head.
Yeah, that's the Frankenbotch, my friend. Ooh.
But he's able to recover to make a cover for a 2 count. Gedo then rolls out, so Jericho follows out with a slingshot plancha, only for Gedo to drop kick him in midair. And they return to the ring where they duck each other's strikes until Chris leaps onto the shoulders of his opponent, but Gedo just drops Jericho knee first to the mat. Gedo then heads up top, flying off with a missile dropkick, only for Chris to sidestep and lock in the Lion Tamer for the submission and the win. So I got a fun fact here for you.
Okay.
Did you think these two guys were working a little stiff?
Yeah, I mean, it looked pretty good minus the botch because they were working hard. I imagine they were upset at each other.
They were a little bit upset with each other because Bischoff originally booked this for Gedo to win. But Jericho convinced him, why are we having the guy who's never been on WCW TV beating me?
That shouldn't happen. Like, Yuji Nagata beating Ultimo Dragon is fine. And even
Nagata's been on TV.
Okay, yeah.
Gedo
okay.
has not been on TV at all.
All right, yeah, I didn't realize Nagata had been on television recently, but you can't have both the Japanese guys go over back to back. Would be my, like, if I'm just going into this pay-per-view cold, my assumption, it's like one or the other. And Nagata over Gedo because he's a much better wrestler.
Yeah. But basically Gedo was a bit pissed because they...
Good reason.
Yeah. He was told one thing and then another happened, and there's only one person to blame for it. But he probably should. Eric Bischoff.
I mean, it's Eric Bischoff
in the first place.
It's Eric Bischoff you should blame.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Jericho's
once again...
logic is correct.
Why would you have a guy who's never been on TV pin me, who's been a former junior heavyweight champion?
Yeah.
Like, makes no sense.
And
the guy's supposed to happen where I wonder if the Frankensteiner wasn't supposed to go down or something. And
No, I think that's Gedo sandbagging a little bit.
No, he sandbagged. But you can see it because I was like, what move were they trying to do? And it's like, oh no, Gedo just was not, like, he just decided not to take the bump. He's like, well, I'm not going to take this big bump for this guy if that's the deal.
Yeah, screw you guys, I go home.
Yeah, and and Chris Jericho could have been a lot more. Could have got way hurt.
Yeah. We go backstage to Mean Gene, and he wants to talk about a Fleetwood Mac concert from the previous night. But his guest, Queen Debra, motions for him to just get on with it. And she was supposed to lead Jeff Jarrett into a match with Mongo, and if he lost, she would have to leave WCW. But now, with Jarrett gone, she has a mystery man. And McMichael interrupts, telling her to listen good. He got her into this, and now he's the bad guy? If she doesn't need him anymore, she can give back the diamond ring, Rolex, and credit cards. And Debra says she has no intention of giving those back, saying she earned them by putting up with Mongo and his family.
Damn.
With Okerlund thinking they should probably settle this in a courtroom.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Mean Gene.
Yeah. If anything to get it off our television, it's been on for like a year, at least a full year.
So we go to our third match. Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Eddie Guerrero for the WCW World Cruiserweight Championship.
I mean...
Versus Mask match.
This is all we want, right? It's just shows that just give us matches like these three. These are the names we want to see.
So the story behind this match was that Eddie had targeted Mysterio, having not forgotten his upset loss before Fall Brawl. Rey would face a mysterious masked man on Nitro named El Caliente, but the ruse fooled no one, especially after he was unmasked, to be Guerrero. A measure of revenge was had when Eddie would run into Mysterio versus Malenko, snatching the mask off of Rey's head, causing him to lose as he covered his face. And this would lead to Mike Tenay doing a series of history lessons on the tradition of lucha libre and masks in Mexico,
which we've talked about and loved.
Tenay would mention that the Guerrero family had resented masked men, as Gory had lived in the shadow of El Santo throughout his career.
So good. Look at all this sense.
Little
this is
context.
Uh-huh.
So the match gets going with Eddie he just starts yelling that he's going to rip the mask off of Mysterio's head.
Yeah, he's full dickhead energy. Right. It's so good.
Before just swinging away, only for Rey to duck and leap off the ropes with a cobrada. But he's caught, so Mysterio counters it into an arm drag and a monkey flip. Rey then delivers a crossbody that sends Guerrero to the floor, but Eddie recovers to throw Mysterio off the apron down to the floor, and then into the steel steps. And Rey is rolled in before Guerrero nails a slingshot senton and chops, only for Mysterio to reverse a whip to hit a dropkick and handspring up to the shoulders for a Rana. But Eddie reverses it into a back suplex and a brainbuster for a 2 count.
Eddie sucks. I mean, these are not the views of myself, but the crowd in 1997.
Guerrero keeps up the attack with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker for a near fall, before starting to rip at the eye hole of the mask, while applying an ab stretch, which Eddie transitions into a pump handle backbreaker for a 2 count.
Eddie is looking even more sinewy and ripped. I think he might be on the gas.
Guerrero grabs a knuckle lock for multiple pin attempts before attempting a pump splash, but Rey gets his feet up, using the pendulum to leap up to the top rope and flying off to nail a springboard moonsault DDT.
I mean, come on, guys. Is this not the coolest thing you've seen in a little while?
It's been a little bit.
Yeah, it was so sick.
Dropkick from Mysterio sends Eddie to the floor before going for a springboard something. But Guerrero has already rolled back into the ring, so Rey lands on the apron, only for Eddie to dropkick him out to the floor. Guerrero follows out to send Mysterio hard into the guardrail before returning to the ring, where the mask continues to be ripped at while in a camel clutch.
And after that wonderful, beautiful, hard-hitting DDT maneuver, Eddie sells his head for like, you don't really, people might be like, I got punched in the head or whatever, but he's just selling his head because his head hurts for like basically throughout the rest of the match. But it's like, it's just a thing, guys. The move has to mean something, and I couldn't be more excited that one that looked that good and that cool and devastating. You got to register this stuff, and it means more when you do.
Eddie transitions into a gory special, but Ray gets loose and arm drags out of it, only to then whiff on a dropkick, allowing Guerrero to dropkick Mysterio in the back of the neck. And Eddie keeps up the attack with a backbreaker and a modified surfboard, only to release it to deliver another dropkick for a near fall. And strikes begin to be traded in a corner when Guerrero throws Ray across the ring, leaving him in a tree of woe, allowing Eddie to nail another dropkick. And Guerrero gets a running start for another, only for Ray to lift himself up, sending Eddie crotch first into the ring post and crashing out to the floor. Mysterio then leaps off the turnbuckle with a plancha onto Guerrero, before returning to the ring where Ray's whip is reversed and almost gets caught in a tilt whirl, but he lands on his feet, followed by leaping on the shoulders of Eddie for a hurricanrana for the pin, and no, Guerrero kicks out.
I mean, these boys are,
they're earning that paycheck.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody else's.
Yeah, they're on the right wavelength. They're both at the same frequency.
Eddie immediately responds with a clothesline and a whip to the ropes, where Mysterio goes for another quebrada, only for Guerrero to slide underneath, so Ray charges in to head scissor Eddie out to the floor. Mysterio would then leap over the ropes with a somersault plancha, landing on the shoulders and turning it into another Rana.
My God.
And Guerrero's rolled in, while Ray heads up top to connect with a corkscrew moonsault for a 2 count, before springboarding off the ropes with a split-legged moonsault. But Eddie gets his knees up and hoists Mysterio up to deliver a powerbomb for the pin. And no! Ray kicks out.
And the fans think that Eddie sucks, but I think they're wrong.
Guerrero rams Ray back first into a turnbuckle, charges in himself, only for Mysterio to hotshot him onto the turnbuckle, followed by a spinning heel kick. And Ray rolls to the apron for a springboard Rana, but Eddie catches and drops him across his knee for a backbreaker.
You can't go back to the well.
Before heading to the top himself, flying off with a frog splash, only to see Mysterio move.
Damn.
So Guerrero rolls through. Ray then charges at Eddie, who goes for the hot shot, but Mysterio leaps up to the turnbuckle, only for Guerrero to cut his feet out from under him to crotch him. Eddie then lifts Mysterio up for a splash mountain bomb, but Mysterio counters into a hurricanrana for the pin and the win. And no!
Shane got caught up. I can't blame him.
Yeah.
This was wonderful. Is this a short list?
Yes, it's definitely a short
Just
list.
making sure we're all on the same page, because I'm like, I wrote it.
This match is considered one of WCW's best matches ever.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, it's upsetting for WCW, but I mean, if this wasn't in like the top 10 list, pretty wild.
Yeah. Post-match, Ray is celebrating when Guerrero would attack, throwing Mysterio to the floor, leaving Eddie to sulk in the ring. I got another fun Bischoff note for you.
Uh-oh.
He wanted Ray to lose the mask here.
He does eventually, and it's upsetting because he kind of looks like a cartoon bug.
Yeah.
Which is not a nice thing to say about a man, but Eddie without the mask, it's like if he never wore the mask, it wouldn't be a thing where we would judge his looks that strongly, but he's so small, and he looks smaller without the mask somehow.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like sometimes when I first got back into wrestling, I'd be like, why can't this guy be a thing? And Matt's like, well, he's not big enough. He'll never make it that far in the WWF because he's just too small. And
luckily, I think we're moving away from
TV,
that a little bit now.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But on TV, I don't quite notice it. And, well, that man that I was talking about is much smaller now. I won't call him out.
Mean Gene is then in the entrance, plugging the hotline. He says a click in wrestling might have added a new member. Call now for more info.
Can't tell you here.
Yeah, like we need any more members of the NWO.
Well, I mean, maybe it's not them.
Maybe
click.
Maybe it's just a click.
When he says a click, I think of the click. But I guess people it's such an 80s thing. An 80s
technically,
term.
Undertaker's crew was a click.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just such an 80s term, too. On top of that, it's like a click. It's like
Ravens.
Flock, click.
Brood, whatever.
Blue Meanie coming in?
They do have a new member the next time I think we see them. Actually, they have 2 new members, I think, the next time we see them.
That's all they need is more members.
More sad people just walk around and
behind Raven and his stupid tears.
Get hooked on heroin with
Sick
old Billy.
Yeah.
Okerlund asks Shivani what he's wearing for Halloween. With Tony responding, he'll probably wear his Mean Gene costume.
He's going to shave his head. I guess they make those little crummy,
cul-de-sacs.
Cul-de-sac.
We then go to the NWO locker room with Hollywood Hogan and Eric Bischoff, where the Hulkster talks about mirrors and how he loves how they show every strand, striation, and ripple in his body. But Hogan feels bad that the fans won't get their due, because WCW hasn't provided a safe working environment for Hollywood. And Bischoff chimes in that there are guys coming out of the roof and cages are lowering over the ring. So therefore, the main event won't happen unless WCW can provide assurances. Basically meaning that they have to provide a document that bans Sting from the building.
Cool. The most over guy that hasn't done anything in almost a year. Maybe a full year, basically. If we're not there, we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
They ramble on some more, as the NWO does, basically repeating the same points.
Mm-hmm.
To give some background here, Eric had dared the Stinger to show up at the pay-per-view, claiming Hogan would beat him up. But Bischoff didn't know that Sting was actually in the building when he said it. So the Stinger would come down and clear the ring during a giant Curt Hennig match. Later in the night, Hollywood would dress up as the Stinger.
For a second, I thought you meant a big Curt Hennig match, and you meant the Giant.
The Giant.
yeah, I was like, okay. I was like, a giant Curt Hennig match? Yeah, right. It's 1997. It's like, oh no, it was against the Giant.
Yeah. Hollywood would dress up as the Stinger to attack Piper, so Sting had enough, deploying his own army of fake Stingers over the next few weeks to mess with Hogan's head.
Oh, well, that helps me out a little bit, because I was pretty confused at the end of this show.
Yeah. But I mean, that's...
I got it after...
WCW for you.
I got it after a while, but my assumption... I guess we'll get there.
So we go to our 4th match. Steve, Mongo, McMichael.
Sure.
Versus Alex Wright.
That makes sense.
With Queen Debra.
It makes more sense than... It's the best, better than Scotty Riggs and Debra. I'm pro Alex Wright.
I guess she went from one musician to a dancer, so I guess that's close.
Oh, you think this is the Mystery Man?
Well, no, of course not.
So the two trade right hands, arm ringers, and slams to start, until Alex rolls out to regroup. But he returns for more back and forth action when Wright would take McMichael down with uppercuts and stomps. And Alex goes for a hip toss, only for Mongo to reverse into one of his own, followed by more slams and forearms, until he eats a boot on a corner charge. And Wright fires out with a spinning heel kick and goes for a tombstone piledriver.
Alex, you've gotten bigger,
But they botch the reversal, so McMichael has to knee Alex in the gut and picking him up to deliver the piledriver.
Hey, at least he drove the knee.
And I'm pretty sure he did kind of that Kane walk around carrying him over and over and over and over again, trying to find the right spot to drop him down, and I just kept screaming at my TV, just put him down!
No, he has to make sure it's safe.
Well, he has to make sure it's safe, but he just looks stupid walking around like that.
He always looks stupid. He's Steve Mongo McMichael.
Debra then jumps on the apron to distract the ref. When Goldberg would jump in the ring.
It's Goldberg!
But Mongo has gone to argue with his wife as well, only for him to turn and be nailed with a spear and a jackhammer, before Bill places Wright on top for the pin and the win. Post-match, Queen Debra hands McMichael's Super Bowl ring over to Goldberg for payment.
Hey, at least it wasn't dollar bills. I'd be like, you can't just do dollar bill payoffs twice in a row.
With her claiming she always gets her way. Alex then comes over to thank Bill for his help, but Goldberg punches him before taking Wright into the ring to nail another spear and jackhammer, followed by telling the camera that Mongo is next.
I mean, nobody wanted to see this match, and they're trying to get Goldberg over. It all makes sense. It's better than Goldberg having an actual match.
Goldberg and Mongo McMichael feud.
I mean, well, we all know that it can't be that much of a match.
Oh, I mean, Mongo had the privilege of saying that he made Bill Goldberg.
No, I don't think he was. Even though we shit on Mongo, but I've never really seen any Mongo like shoot interviews or anything. But I bet he's probably a pretty cool-headed, all okay guy. Is my vibe that I get post wrestling for him. I imagine he walked away like just kind of being like, yeah, I had a good time, but I don't know.
Oh, I mean, probably
maybe he was a monster dick.
He was a football player, so he may have just walked in, got his money, walked away.
But I mean, Ron Simmons was just a football player.
Mm-hmm. But Ron Simmons and Mongo are
Goldberg. I mean, yeah, they're all very
way
different. A lot of these guys were just football players that, tweaked an ankle or couldn't quite go as far as they wanted to.
We go to the NWO locker room with Macho Man Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. Macho says he doesn't understand the Bischoff contract talk. He doesn't have to read between the eyes because it doesn't matter. He's only there to beat up DDP because he's a marked man. And Savage continues that he's going to celebrate with a pack of Slim Jims. Because after tonight, Paige can tell his grandchildren he had a glimpse of greatness, but he couldn't handle it, as DDP is nothing compared to the madness.
I think Slim Jim is what gave all these free Slim Jims is what gave poor Randy that awful heart attack that ended his life.
Probably.
Not all the extracurriculars.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe it was a Slim Jim that was, rolled in, dipped in, smothered, covered with a little bit of cocaine and Percocets or something.
I don't remember the last time you guys had a Slim Jim, but they're pretty gross. But they have that like weird fake skin on the outside. Mm-hmm. I like to think that he just like pulled the meat out with his teeth and then used it as a Coke straw. Because that's gross.
Genius.
I'm pretty sure he had a couple bucks on him. We knew Randy didn't spend his money.
Randy then asks Liz for her thoughts, with her responding that Paige, on his best day, shouldn't be in the ring with Macho. Savage then finishes by claiming he's the best wrestler today, and he doesn't care if he gets hurt in the fight, before reminding us that Slim Jims is the sponsor for Havoc, and walking away.
Yeah, it's this is not actually Halloween Havoc 1997.
It's Slim Jims presents Halloween Havoc.
Exactly. Every single time I say it.
So we go to our fifth match, Disco Inferno versus Miss Jacquelyn. And the story behind this match was that after Inferno had won the WCW World Television Championship from Alex Wright, Jackie had confronted him, with Disco thinking that she wanted to dance. But no, she wanted to fight.
Right.
But he didn't want any part of that, only for Miss Jacquelyn to threaten to tell everyone why Inferno had disappeared the last 6 months. She would continuously interfere in his matches until WCW signed the bout between them. And this was going to be for the belt, but the Nevada Athletic Commission wouldn't sanction an intergender title contest, even if Stevie Richards' sign says it's girl versus girl.
Yeah. Was there any implied reason that he was gone?
There was.
Was it penis enlargement?
We'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay. Because that seems like the joke that would be
the
made.
very first Brazilian butt lift.
Disco Inferno is packing an ass.
Mm-hmm.
So Disco stalls by bailing to the floor or hiding behind the ref anytime Jackie looks to fight.
Disco sauce.
Until Jacquelyn begins chasing him around ringside and back into the ring, hitting a shoulder block to the gut, followed by a slingshot sunset flip for a 2 count. Inferno answers with a drop toe hold, but then bails again when she immediately makes it back to her feet. And Disco returns to deliver an arm drag, only to again stall and be chased around ringside. But Miss Jacquelyn outsmarts him, catching him with a boot as he enters the ring, and begins to wail on him with right hands. Inferno rolls out and decides he's done with this. But Jackie attacks from behind, forcing him back towards the ring to nail forearms and shoulder blocks. And Disco catches her running the ropes and goes to hip toss Miss Jacquelyn, only for her to land on her feet to deliver more punishment, until Inferno can pull her through the ropes out of the ring.
And Matt's blasting through this, but my God, was this like pulling teeth?
Oh, we're already like 7 minutes into this match.
Yeah, I mean, all the stalling is infuriating and not funny. Like, Disco Inferno is not...
It's one of those things where,
Jim
like...
Cornette or Bobby Heenan or...
Inferno doesn't want to hit a woman, so that's why he's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like... But you have a match. Like, something has to happen.
Yeah.
And he's also, like, the heel, so him not wanting to hit her doesn't really, like, add any more...
Yeah, it doesn't help either one of them, really. Yeah. Jackie grabs Disco by his legs and crotches him on the ring post, followed by a snap suplex on the floor. And back in the ring, Miss Jacquelyn with clotheslines and a float over DDT before heading to the top, where she flies off with a crossbody, but the momentum rolls them over with Inferno on top for the pin. And no, Jackie kicks out.
But Disco Inferno thinks he won the match.
And Disco starts to argue with the ref, so Miss Jacquelyn rolls him up from behind for the pin. And the win. So here's the backstory.
All right.
The reason Inferno was gone for 6 months is because he was fired for refusing to lose to Jackie. So he turned to the WWF and was supposed to become Rockabilly. Remember us talking about that?
Yeah.
But that opportunity fell through. So he asked for his job back. Bischoff rehired him, but told him that he still had to lose to Jacquelyn, only for the booking team to put the TV title on him to try and dissuade Eric. But as we just saw, that didn't work.
Damn, so Eric just hates this motherfucker.
Basically. And we basically have now also destroyed a title in the process as well.
Yeah. All very stupid and didn't need to happen. Like,
this could have been on Nitro or Saturday.
Well, I mean, it's just humiliation.
Or not
it's
at
just,
all.
It's Eric humiliating a man.
Yeah.
Because
it's just Eric playing with his toys.
Yeah, man, he's playing with his toys, and who got to pay the price for it?
Everybody
watching
we
it.
Did.
And it was...
luckily, our price was only like $5 in comparison to the dumbass prices that they charge people to watch this match live back in the day.
I mean, I don't think Jacquelyn did a bad job.
No.
This just stinks on ice.
Yeah, absolutely. So we go to our 6th match. Curt Hennig versus the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, for the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship. The champion came out first. Foreshadowing. And as Hennig walks out in a desecrated robe of Nature's and the Cruiserweight belt. They grabbed the wrong belt as he walked out of the curtain.
That's so funny. I did not notice that. But the Curt Hennig coming out in the Nature Boy red robe to booze was nice.
So they really just destroyed that TV championship.
So Flair runs to the ring, pulling Curt out to the floor to start the fight, before entering the ring to kick at the leg and knock Hennig off the apron into a guardrail. Curt acts like he's just going to leave. The Nature Boy stops him and drags him back to the ring to work the leg by ramming it against the ring post, before grabbing a chair to swing away, only for Hennig to move in time. Now back in the ring, Nate continues to pound away, pulling the robe off and putting it on to strut, and woo! Followed by whipping Curt to a corner, only for him to fire out with a clothesline and a neck snap. And Hennig rams Flair's knee on the post to even the odds, as both men now struggle to stand whilst trading strikes. And Curt sends the Nature Boy to a corner for a Flair flip to the floor, with Hennig following out to brawl as well, before returning to the ring to snap Nature's neck on the top rope. And Curt continues the punishment, but the Nature Boy begins to fire back, until Hennig locks on a sleeper, which Nate escapes with a back suplex. And Curt drags Flair out to the apron, when Hennig would grab a chair to sandwich his opponent's head between steel and post.
No.
only for the Nature Boy to move in time and begin to pound away on Curt, catapulting him into the steel post.
Posted.
Hennig grabs his belt and goes to leave. Yeah,
it's
right.
Somebody's belt.
But again, Nate catches up with him to knock him down, followed by a rolling knee drop and tossing Curt back into the ring. Hennig hits a knee lift and places the belt on the mat before going for a suplex onto it. But Flair blocks and reverses for a suplex of his own,
which doesn't quite land on the belt.
The Nature Boy starts chopping away, tying Curt up in a tree of woe, followed by placing the belt in front of Hennig's face and stomping away on it, causing the ref to call for the disqualification. Post-match, Nate keeps going, knocking the ref down, which brings officials and the NWO out to help Curt, finally pulling him to safety.
They were worried about Sting going after Hogan. Whew.
Flair did not care about this belt at all. He was there for a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and Nature Boy had some energy. That with Rick, it's so up and down as far as how invested he is into what's going on, and he seemed more invested here, so that's positive.
Yep. Savage is in the WCWWrestling.com room with Madden and Katz, with Mark asking Macho about his match with DDP, with the response that Savage wants people to know he's the greatest wrestler in the world, claiming that Page misunderstands that, but he'll get him tonight. And Madden continues by asking if the women will get involved, with Macho saying that anyone who gets involved is over-involved. Yeah.
Yep.
Not great.
Not his best work.
We then come back to the stage area where Mean Gene is with J.J. Dillon, who's back for the first time since he was attacked by the NWO.
I'm always happy to see
J.J. reclaiming his commissioner role from Piper, because Piper's down in a match, so...
Yeah.
Okerlund says that JJ has walked into a can of worms, not believing that Hogan and Bischoff have demands, and wanting to deprive the fans of the cage match. And Dillon says he's back because he's not a quitter and has a job to do. Hollywood's actions won't fly, and the main event will happen as advertised, which brings out Eric to ask JJ, "Who do you think you are? You have no stroke."
The amount of times he says "you have no stroke" is crazy.
It's so
that should have been
stupid.
my nickname, the man with no stroke. But so yeah, it's just like, Jesus, man. Yeah, you don't have the authority, but yeah, he says stroke over and over again. It's like, is it fucking 1982? Like, what are you talking about? This is not a word people use like regularly.
He strokes it to the east, he strokes it to the left.
He strokes it in his face and on his best friends.
JJ proves him wrong by producing a notarized document stating that Sting is not in the building, which leads to Bischoff complaining because he never actually wanted the document, but does say that if the Stinger does show up, the NWO wants Nitro.
Yeah, like, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all want you to have Nitro. I do love that JJ says, if you see Sting tonight, it's only going to be in your nightmares, which is fun to just, point out that he's scared of a man.
So we go to our 7th match, Scott Hall with Syxx versus Lex Luger, with Larry Zbyszko as the special referee. And the story behind this match was that Eric Bischoff had confronted Larry after the events of Fall Brawl, warning him to never get involved in NWO matches again. But Zbyszko countered by calling Eric a coward, and then he only joined them out of fear. Hall would call out Lex for a fight, knowing that Luger was not there, so he challenged Larry instead, only for Zbyszko to not be dumb enough to do that. And then Roddy Piper, as the commish, made this match, with Larry promising to call it down the middle, because he didn't want to rob WCW of a clean win, even getting in some practice when after a ref bump, Zbyszko would run down to count the 3 during a tag title match that would make the Steiners the new champions.
Yeah, boy.
So Larry tells Scott to lose the toothpick, only to get it thrown into his face, followed by our competitors going back and forth with lockups, with Zbyszko making them break clean every time, even though Syxx is complaining he's given Luger more time. Hall then looks for a test of strength,
Do it.
only to kick Lex in the gut and apply a bow and arrow stretch until Luger rallies momentarily, but Scott takes Lex down with an inverted atomic drop, clotheslines, and a fallaway slam for a 2 count. And Hall and Syxx continuously complain about a slow count before grabbing Luger with a sleeper, taking him down to a knee, but Lex fires up to escape with a back suplex. Scott kicks Luger out to the floor, followed by making sure to knock Lex back down every time he gets to the apron, forcing Larry to make Hall back up, leading to a shoving argument between the two, when Scott would go to clothesline Zbyszko, only to be back body dropped out to the floor. Bischoff would come running down to the ring to yell at Larry, only to be kicked off the apron by Zbyszko as well. Our competitors would then make their way back into the ring, with Luger taking control with running clotheslines, inverted atomic drops, and a jumping forearm, before signaling for his finisher. When Eric would jump back on the apron, so Larry turns to deal with him, while Syxx sneaks in to kick Lex in the back of the head, allowing Hall to nail the outsider's edge with Zbyszko, making the reluctant count for the pin and the win. But Larry smells a rat and demands to see the replay, which he sees the interference. So Zbyszko demands the match to continue. And Scott comes back and gets in Larry's face, only to be shoved right into Luger, who picks him up for the torture rack and the submission. Post-match, Syxx immediately attacks, kicking Lex to the floor, but Zbyszko takes the kid down into a guillotine choke, only for Bischoff to come into the ring to kick Larry in the head.
And damn, did he kick him in the head.
The NWO team up on Zbyszko with more kicks from Eric before placing a foot on his chest as Hall makes a 3 count. And Tony is disgusted, mocking Bischoff by saying, "Mommy, I want to be a wrestler," as the NWO leave to the back. We go to a commercial for World War III, where we see a guy in a gas mask walking around a post-apocalyptic wasteland as the wind blows a piece of paper against his leg, picking it up to see the WCW logo on it. Highlights of competitors are then shown as words flash on the screen that says, "The war isn't over yet."
It's a neat little ad. There was some decent production for that old Mad Maxy Fallout vibe.
So we go to our 8th match. Macho Man Randy Savage with Miss Elizabeth versus Diamond Dallas Page in a Las Vegas sudden death match.
So it's just a Texas death match in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And as soon as DDP's in the ring, Savage bails to the floor, only for Page to follow out to brawl around ringside.
Also, Page has his ribs taped up.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
With Macho attacking the ribs, while DDP slams Savage face first into a guardrail. And they make it back in, where Macho drops Page throat first across the ropes, before trading strikes, with DDP getting the advantage to nail a swinging neckbreaker, followed by going for his finisher, only for Savage to bail out to the floor to avoid. Page, with a slingshot plancha atop Macho, throws him into the railing before rolling him into the ring. But as DDP makes his way in, Savage snaps Page's neck across the rope to send him crashing back out to the floor. Macho then heads up top, flying off with a double axe handle, followed by tossing DDP out into the crowd, where Raven and his flock are, so Stevie Richards gets a good laugh about it.
The Raven section?
Yep.
Sad boy section?
They brawl through the crowd towards the Havoc set, where Savage is whipped and slammed in the tombstones, followed by a plastic sign over the head. But he makes it back to his feet at the count of 7. They then brawl back towards the ring, where Page is whipped into a guardrail and ring steps, before Macho rolls DDP into the ring. But he then rips a camera out of the hands of Jackie Crockett, the youngest son of Jim Crockett Sr., brother to Jim Jr. and David. And Savage heads into the ring to use it, only for Page to kick it back into Macho's face, leaving both men down, with the ref making a count.
Wonderful. Good-looking spot.
All of a sudden, Miss Elizabeth jumps on the apron with a glass platter, smashing it over the head of the ref.
Sorry.
Followed by choking DDP with the camera cord. Kimberly then runs down, and we got us a cat fight. Liz gets dragged by her hair to the back, while Nick Patrick comes out to replace Mickey J as the ref, starting the count with both men rising at the count of 7. Page then fires up with right hands, atomic drop, and a pancake slam, signaling again for his finisher. But Savage holds onto the ropes to block, sending DDP down to the mat. Macho heads up top for a flying elbow, only for Page to make it up at 6. So Savage slams him down and hits another flying elbow. And the ref starts making the count. 7, 8, 9. DDP's up.
At 9.5.
But Macho with a high knee and goes for another slam, which knocks down Patrick in the process. Page slips out and nails the diamond cutter, with the ref realizing both men are down, so he starts a count, making it all the way to 8. But when they get up, DDP tries for another cutter, but Savage counters with a low blow mule kick, sending Page falling out to the floor.
Not the jewels.
All of a sudden, a very tan Sting makes his way out to hit DDP right in the ribs with his bat, leaving Page down for the count, making Macho Man our winner. Post-match, Patrick prevents Macho from attacking as officials come out to check on DDP, so Savage decks the ref and grabs Page, only for Doug Dillinger, head of security, to force Macho to back up. EMTs get DDP on a stretcher, carrying him to the back when Savage would punch him, while Tony tells us that they have figured out that the stinger that came out was in fact Hogan. Shocker.
Yeah, he was large, he was tan, they pointed out the boots.
Yep.
But yeah, the Sting thing got no reaction.
Because it was obvious at this point that they're just fake stings. Like,
yeah, they're super obvious, but it's like they just keep doing it anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, it'd be one thing if, it's like.
It's like throwing noodles. They're just waiting for that one to stick. But so far, it's just one shitty.
It's a mask.
After another.
And like, they could paint their face, but they wouldn't look like Sting. Everybody knows Sting's profile. With or without the paint. He looks like Sting.
Our commentators talk about the main event, with Heenan pointing out that we haven't heard from Piper tonight, and that Roddy is dangerous when he's quiet. So we go to our 9th match, Hollywood Hogan versus Roddy Piper in a steel cage match.
Grudge, it's a grudge.
Michael Buffer makes our announcement, so let's get ready to survive, if there is one.
That was a fun line from Bobby.
And this is the old Thunderdome cage. They just took the lid off, making it very wobbly throughout the match. Plus, no one seems to know what the rules are.
Yeah, it's like 10 to 12 inch squares, you know.
Yeah, they've adapted that blue cage from the WWF, but painted it silver or gray or whatever color.
Yeah, without the integrity, because, like Matt said, it's a shaky one. Mm-hmm. It's more like the bars that held RoboCop in Capital Combat.
Roddy had also stolen the belt in the previous week, so he comes out with it, which makes me go, Piper made this match, so why didn't he make it a title match?
Well, we have the answer to that. Main event 6 pay-per-views a year and creative control.
So Roddy chases Hogan around the ring when Hollywood would try to climb, only for Piper to start whipping him with a leather strap and biting his ass. And they brawl around ringside some more before making their way in, where Roddy delivers an atomic drop, claps the ears, and kicks to send Hogan bailing out to the floor again.
And there's no ref inside the cage. He's on the outside of the cage watching all.
Hollywood tries to climb again, but he gets knocked down by a low blow, followed by them slamming each other's head into the cage at the same time. And Hogan decides to escape out the door, but Roddy's right there for them to brawl on the outside of the cage. So I guess that isn't a way to win either?
Yeah, this really pissed me off. You guys know how I feel about cage matches in general, but like Hogan trying to leave it, he's afraid of Piper, blah, blah, blah. But then they just open the door for Hogan to walk out, which stops it from there ever being a reason to bring the cage or lower the cage. You just let him walk out, and that's not how you win. So what are we doing?
It's to keep people out, not to keep the people in.
But why would you let the people in out? Because then people can come
Out.
Exactly.
Out in.
Yeah, this is lame. Love Piper, so happy to see him.
Hollywood slams the door in Piper's face several times.
That's why it happened.
Before crotching Roddy on the railing. Hogan decides he's had enough and starts to leave.
Hogan saw Curt Hennig get that over.
But he's stopped by Sting when Piper would attack from behind and they head back into the cage brawling. Hollywood once again tries to climb with our competitors fighting when another Sting would appear standing next to the other on the outside. And Hogan's been knocked down to the floor while Roddy's still at the top of the cage. So Hollywood climbs back up for them to fight some more, with both men coming back down to the floor. And back in the ring, Hogan uses his weight belt across the back of Piper multiple times before going out to climb the cage again, only to see the Stingers waiting for him on the other side, allowing Piper to climb up and pull Hollywood back in when more Stings would make their way out through the crowd.
I was kind of confused because I didn't know about the Sting hired imposters. I thought that these were all just NWO guys, so I was waiting because the first one looks like Syxx. So I just assumed that this was like an NWO plot because the first one looked like Syxx, and then Hogan did the thing earlier. But that's what I get for not watching the television before, or them not telling me.
It's more of that.
Yeah.
They make their way back into the ring, where Roddy chokes Hogan with a t-shirt, but Hollywood escapes by nailing Piper with the belt, ramming his head into the mat and delivering 2 leg drops, which he then calls for a ref to come in to make the count for the pin. And no, Roddy kicks out with absolutely nobody going crazy except for me right now to make this sound more exciting than it actually is.
Yeah. It's not hot, guys.
Nope.
Hogan calls out help with Savage just blowing by the 2 Stings in the IOA, climbing to the top of the cage while Hollywood holds Piper.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Macho leaps off with a double axe handle,
He did it.
only to hit Hogan as Roddy is moved and almost breaks both legs in the process.
Yeah.
Yep. For the smart man that Randy Savage once was in the ring, that was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen him do in a ring.
But hey, it's the most exciting thing that happened in this match, and people popped for it.
Piper dumps Savage out of the ring and hooks on a sleeper, taking Hollywood down to the mat with the ref raising the arm once, twice, 3 times for the win.
Which is cool. That's what we all want to happen. You just didn't get there the best way. But what happens post-match, man?
Macho runs back in to attack Roddy when one of the Stings looks to come help, only for Bischoff to run down, pushing the Stinger out of the way to make it into the ring. Eric revives Hogan with a kiss. No, just kidding. But you know he probably wanted to. So he can nail Piper with the belt before dragging Sting into the ring.
As the crowd chants, we want Sting, because they might even be in, the cheap seats, but they know that those guys aren't Sting.
And this knocks the imposter's mask and wig off, revealing that it's some stagehand of some sort,
On his head.
followed by dumping him out to the floor. And the NWO handcuffs Roddy to the cage, allowing them to continue the punishment, when all of a sudden a fan jumps the railing and climbs the cage. The fake Sting tackles him when Hollywood and Macho would grab him to start beating him down with worked punches.
Yeah, I saw it.
Followed by security getting him out of the ring. As Tony says his goodbyes, and we fade to credits, including an ad for World War III.
I mean, I thought it was an angle because the guy had Sting makeup on too, and he must have just been so fucked up that he was like, well, all these fake Stings, maybe I can get in there too. I don't know what he was thinking, but we've seen a lot of fan participation recently in wrestling, but WCW specifically.
I don't know if they ever do anything with that, or if it was a real fan, if it was a work thing. Because I mean, they literally were giving worked punches.
Yeah, I mean, it was serious.
I mean, spoiler for the Nitro afterwards, they don't mention it at all.
No,
so.
yeah, they don't.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, the thing is, like, over on Raw, they had a fan jump the railing and who actually is someone.
Which we'll talk about soon.
Yeah. So I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of Halloween Havoc 1997?
First few matches were very good. Very, very good. Fun, the kind of stuff that is typically what I want out of wrestling, more to my tastes. The main event was overbooked to shit, and what's up with the fan? But, you know, I guess we just kind of talked that, but it was my overall thoughts when this ended, and it was kind of a weird show. Just kind of a weird show.
There was Havoc.
To be had, yeah. What's funny is the best matches were the ones that had no Havoc in the middle. Mm-hmm. Just wrestling.
Yep. It's Halloween Havoc the way Starrcade is often Starrcade, where it's just there's a couple of hot spots and then just a bunch of garbage.
Though, like, you know, there was some fun stuff that was like, you know,
Mongo, Alex.
Are you ready for it?
DDP and Savage was fun.
Watch the first 3 matches.
Yeah.
Turn your TV off.
Yeah.
And thank us for watching it.
Yeah. I mean, the first 3 matches are great.
Give us 5 stars because we had to sit through 6 totally unnecessary fucking.
You want to know what the crazy thing about this is?
What?
I actually looked up cage matches ratings of Halloween Havoc.
Is this the best Halloween Havoc?
It's the second best one.
Oh.
Well, what's crazy is like
it's 98.
Yeah.
Above?
No, it's like 94. It's like the year after.
I think that there's potential here because, like, you know, obviously the 3 matches that are great are great. The Savage DDP is really fun, but then it becomes an overbooked mess. Mm-hmm. Lex and Scott Hall is fun, and then it becomes a bit overworked of a mess, but that one gets probably the most slack. And then the main event is an overbooked mess where Roddy Piper wins, but then they immediately take the heat off of him with a beatdown
every time
in a mess. It's even quicker heat deflection than I've ever seen Hogan pull off. So the potential here was very good, but everything in the second half of the card was an overbooked mess, even when it was good for a little while. But there's 3 great capital W wrestling matches.
Mm-hmm.
Even the one with the botch is totally worth watching.
Oh yeah.
Because those guys are laying
even just
stiff.
to see the botch.
Yeah, even just to see the botch, but just they're laying it in stiff.
It's a glorious botch.
Yes, it's a pretty much Scorpions himself.
Yeah, it's like could have been the end of a career botch.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? There. All right. Fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up. What are some of the best moments of this show?
Well, which match do you want to talk about? There's 3 of us, and I think 3 matches we want to talk about.
I mean, yeah, there's one we all agree on being the best.
I thought it was kind of cool. Just mentioned a couple times when people were jumping out of the ring for things, they would hit them in midair. Yeah. Like we usually see that in the ring, but not on usually coming from the top rope to the floor.
Yeah. I mean, I'll start. I'll just go in order with the Nagata Ultimo Dragon match. wasn't expecting Yuji Nagata to be on here. He couldn't have been more comfortable or had better chemistry with one of, our, like, for lack of a better term, like, curtain jerker for the last year, who always delivers, Ultimo Dragon, who now gets pyro, who always gets cheered. He's awesome. Everybody loves him. He always does a great job, and he had a wonderful dance partner in Yuji Nagata. Yuji Nagata got the win in a believable manner, which is cool.
Same match. He also had the debut of Charles Robinson.
Yes, which I didn't notice, but
it was nice to see him. I didn't realize this would happen.
I'm going to give some flowers to Miss Jacquelyn. The match is not good.
Yeah. No.
Don't get me wrong.
She does a good job.
But she does a good job with what Disco allows her to do.
Mm-hmm.
Basically. And I just said turn the show off after the first 3 matches, but I actually do like the Scott Hall versus Lex Luger match as well.
It's good.
I didn't.
It's fun.
It's exactly
it's exactly what I expect it to be.
Yes.
So the expectations were super low for it.
They were quelled.
So like I said.
See,
I think
for
that one
me,
was fun,
that one
too.
disappointed me just because the build-up that they gave to it, and then it was just a
NWO,
typical
baby.
NWO
Yeah.
match.
But I think that it was done
but
well.
it's also disappointing as well that like refs don't call for instant replay. So why is Larry Zbyszko? So that's also
You're going to call for the instant replay,
So I'm kind of
but
like,
you're not going to say, hey, you wrestler that's not a manager, why don't you just get out of my ringside area?
I will say this about Larry Zbyszko. Best slow count ever.
Mm-hmm.
His slow counts in this match there's 2 of them. They're both wonderfully paced. People either always go too slow or too fast with finish, with like kind of gimmick finish is, I don't know what exactly to say, but whenever somebody does a fast count, they do it too fast. Whenever they do a slow count, they do it way too slow. His pacing on it was wonderful and believable, and all the good things that they could be.
and do we just need to run down like every fucking awesome move that Mysterio and Eddie did? Because
Just watch it again. Just watch it.
like
I've
watched that match multiple times because it's on like the Best of Ray, it's on the Best of Eddie DVDs, like
Good reason.
best of Halloween Havoc, obviously, best of WC. So it's like if you watch any of those best of WWE shows that they put together, like literally I've watched.
It shows up all the time.
It shows up all the time.
I mean, this is one of the it's great. Like,
that's why it's on the short list, guys.
Yeah, I had never seen this one before, and I was like, fuck me.
Complete with, the little Mike Tenay
History lesson?
History, yeah.
There's a great line where Bobby says, is there anything you don't know? Like, It's like, Tony's Ronnie says something like, he knows it all. It's like, is there anything he doesn't know?
How about disappointing? I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to start off with Bischoff. Like, literally, whenever I found out about, one, the Gedo Jericho thing having to be changed, and then the Ray Eddie had to be changed as well.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, Eric?
Yeah.
Like, you're just trying to destroy, like, every single
person that's getting
person.
over.
Yeah, exactly. And then, to add on to that, like, not a fan of Disco Inferno.
Mm-mm.
But to have to humiliate someone that way, just because you're that petty.
Yeah.
That's...
Also,
when he comes out and starts yelling at J.J. Dillon that he doesn't have stroke, it's like, yeah, dude, because you have all of it, because you keep showing it to us.
Yeah.
Because you're a little man.
The other thing is that, like, I could believe it if he came from wrestling. She didn't. But, like, if it was, an old school guy that was booking this, I could see the, like, old school Road Dogg wrestler, not Road Dogg, Jesse James, but, like, the guy that's been around and has, like, a more old school mentality being like, all right, yeah, you can come back, but you got to do that. I can see that, like, shitty old man thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for a guy who
I can see Bill Watts doing this.
Exactly. And I'm fine if Bill Watts does it. It's not okay if Eric Bischoff does it, because he doesn't come from wrestling. He doesn't know wrestling.
Yeah.
He didn't earn it. It's like just
me get far away from that beautiful match there.
I mean, what are y'all's thoughts on Hennig and Flair, that match? Like,
it was okay, but it doesn't really feel like it gets out of like third gear, maybe second gear, where it's like it's Hennig and Flair. I think Flair had great energy there, but it didn't feel special or memorable. The most memorable thing about it was that Flair felt like he wanted to be there, and that he was into it, which is good, but it didn't feel like it got past that as far as energy goes.
Because, I mean, like obviously that match, I literally just said Hall and Luger. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to tell anyone to go watch it. And then even Savage and Page, to a point, they were fine. But, like, all of them ended up having just this point in them where it was just kind of like,
what's funny is the first three matches are not, like, quote-unquote marquee matches. The marquee matches with names like Ric Flair and Curt Hennig and Lex Luger and Scott Hall and Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan, they all have positives, but they become an overbooked like mess that doesn't have a satisfying ending in any real way. It's like they could have done less and got more.
It's like trick-or-treating, you know, you start off with those few great houses and like, oh my god, yes, we got the full-size candy bars, they gave us ice-cold Mountain Dews, and then you go to that fourth house and they give you those little
Bibles,
peanut butter taffy things.
Oh yeah, like a Chico stick or whatever.
And then that's what you're chewing on for the rest of the time you're walking around. And you can't get that nasty-ass taste out of your mouth regardless of what little fancy little piece of sugar they throw at you for, you know, that split second.
And it's one of those things where those matches that we were disappointed by with big stars in them, if they could have taken these first three matches and like put them in between the show, it might have made it go down a little bit smoother. But at the same time, would it have really?
I don't know if it would have.
Yeah. I don't know if it would have either.
Unless Eddie and Ray was the main event, I don't think anything's helping this.
Yeah, but
show.
It's Hogan Piper. That has to be the main event. It just should have been. It just should have been better. That's all.
I mean, it was better the first time we saw it, and then it was okay the second time we saw it. And then it was...
Unfortunately, here's the thing. You put Hogan, Piper, and Steel Cage in the same sentence.
Sounds awesome.
This match is actually exactly what I expect to get. And I'm still disappointed in it.
Yeah.
That's the sad part about it all.
And
Piper's put Hogan to sleep 3 times now, and for what?
Just for Hogan to say that he let Piper win, but it still meant something the first time, and it just has.
I'm sure he'll show up the next night and just be like, "I'm the god of professional wrestling." You know?
Of course he will,
because that's what he's gonna do.
Ain't not great.
When the like, you know, it starts off, the crowd's pretty hot. It's Piper and Hogan in a cage, but when the biggest pop after the first like 3 minutes is Randy Savage almost killing himself, ending his career. It's like, all right, well, I guess we didn't have that much.
How about best performer of the night?
It's Ray or Eddie. You can give it to them both. Eddie's been so good character-wise that I want to give it to him because he's really turned the corner.
I mean, I think...
Not turned a corner, but he's leveled up.
I mean...
Because it's not like he was ever bad.
We all agree the move of the night is that springboard moonsault DDT.
Yeah.
That's not hit correctly unless Eddie does it correctly.
Yeah.
So Eddie has to catch him, plus then also do the move, do the DDT. So
performance-wise, he's the star, and he, like you had said, he's got that new quality about him, almost like
where he's just pissed off. He looks like he wants to just like if he had a big enough gas can, he would just light the whole planet on fire.
Yep. It's like 1987 Jake the Snake, where he doesn't need words.
No.
He's just, everything is coming out of his pores, and you can feel it, you can hear it, you can see it.
He's thick with anger and resentment.
And how about most surprising? Is it Nagata showing up? Is it Gedo showing up?
For me, it was a combo of the two. Gedo was more surprising, but Nagata was a much better match.
That Mongo is next.
Bill Goldberg and Mongo are going to be in a thing?
No. That's not surprising at all. He's got to work his way up the card, so...
He's already been through Humorous and the Barbarian.
If Mongo's
the next likely candidate.
If Mongo's lower mid and Barbarian is barely on the card, then and he needs big guys. He can't just pick up Ray. That's not good for Ray, and that doesn't put Goldberg over anymore.
He could be bribed that easily. A used ring.
It's a Super Bowl ring.
I know.
Well, it's obvious that they didn't know what to do with Goldberg to start with.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be
because they basically made him a heel.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Super Bowl ring on a pole.
Yeah. And now for a look back even further into the history of wrestling.
The dusty finish.
After regaining the WCW World Heavyweight Championship on Nitro, Macho Man Randy Savage would make his way to Super Brawl 6 on February 11th, 1996, to finally end the feud with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, in a cage. Savage goes crazy to start, only for Nate to go low to turn things around. They would run each other into the cage when Macho would head to the top, only to get caught in the gut on his way down. The Nature Boy would lock in a figure 4, but Savage reaches for the bottom of the cage, so the ref would pull Flair off of him. Nate would then try to apply the hold again, but Macho would cradle him up for a near fall. More cage work that would bust the Nature Boy open, that sends the cage door flying open, allowing Flair's manager, Woman, to throw powder, only for Savage to duck. So then Miss Elizabeth, another one of Nature's managers, would hand him her high heel shoe. The Nature Boy would then whack Macho over the head with it to become the WCW World Heavyweight Champion for the 5th time. Flair would defend the title over the next few months until his biggest challenger yet would come looking for a shot. Next week, WCW Monday Night Nitro from October 27th. 1997.
Less than 24 hours later.
Yep.
Very next night. Gonna find out the aftermath of Halloween Havoc.
Will the announcing team feel the same way we did talking about it when the show starts? There's only one way to find out.
I mean, technically there's 2 ways.
Well, yeah, I guess you could watch it yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, that's true. It's available.
Yeah.
It's very easily available.
But you could do both.
Yeah.
So there's technically a 3rd way. You could do both.
That's right.
Yeah.
You could watch it and listen to us at the same time.
We might turn the show off halfway through because our show will be over by then.
It's true. Music from this week's show is Rough Rock by Shopan Entesari and Mike Slammer. And Roddy Piper won our main event. So we play Green Hills of Tyrol by Sandy Davidson. And if you like this episode or any of our other ones, please go out there, rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcasts at. YouTube.
Ooh.
Because Google Play is going away.
Okay.
Making everything move over to YouTube.
Well, all right then.
I guess Google and YouTube.
Does that mean we have to get cameras soon? Are we going to?
No video.
Podcasts should stay audio.
Just audio.
All podcasts.
But if you have that YouTube Premium plan, you can use it on YouTube Music, or you can find it there.
Fuck yeah.
It's all there. If you have any questions, comments, concerns,
we are headed to San Diego. Oh, San Diego. I've never been there. I've watched Anchorman, so I know a little bit about
it's a beautiful
San Diego.
city. Right. If I ever move somewhere, it's where I want to move.
My sister lived there. I didn't visit her at the time that she was there. It wasn't very long.
But yeah, if what the fuck should we try there? What do they eat in San Diego? What's from San Diego? What's special from San Diego?
You just eat tacos.
Yeah, I mean it's Cali. There's tacos. There's
not
burritos. sure they've got an in and out around the corner somewhere over there. But yeah, give me some ideas. And also, like I said at the start of the show, tell us where are you watching from and how fucking hot is it there, because it is just ridiculously stupid, ugly hot outside in Oklahoma right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, even looking in Michael's new backyard here, which is a little more, I don't know,
It's a lot more big.
pretty to look at than the last one that looked like a little rainforest. But yeah, it's gross outside. Where are you listening from? How hot is it there? And what was your least favorite match on this show, if you watched it? If you didn't watch it, it's okay.
Everybody's least favorite match is the same. Everybody's least favorite match is the same.
I don't think
You
that's
don't
true.
know that.
Zbyszko and Jacquelyn.
No.
I probably dislike the main event more.
Yep.
But you can send any of those things to our email at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com or find us on X at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTO. We'll talk to you next week.
Top of the morning to you laters. I don't know what accent that was.